Okay, so I am in downtown Dallas, and I'm sitting at the base of the grassy knoll, right? And right here, the X is one of the spots where John F. Kennedy was shot, coming down his motorcade from right down there on Elm Street, and he was shot as another X right there. First shot, and then second shot. So that's Dealey Plaza right there. So all the stuff you've heard about all your life, you know, Dealey Plaza right there, and that's the Big Red Museum. And then there's the book suppository right there, and Lee Harvey Oswald was supposed to be right there behind that tree, on the next to the highest floor, all the way to the right and one end. Supposedly, that's where he was. And then right there on that 501 Elm Place, right there, that middle window, they think another shooter was Bray Dean. And then up on the grassy knoll over there is where they say another shooter was. Now the trajectory of, I've been talking to this gentleman who's been here, and he sits right there next to that plaque, and he's got all this information, right? So he told me that the trajectory of the bullet coming from the book suppository hitting J.F.K. and debris would have been blown down. It would have done more damage to the car. As it was, debris was found over there, blasted back into that field right there, opposite the grassy knoll. So shooter was there, shot right there, and this debris was blasted back into that field over there. And they're saying the shot came from up there, and the debris would have been blasted downward mostly. Okay, the shot from that X right there, the first shot, and to the back, skull or whatever, the trajectory of the bullet was coming from that window right there, and couldn't have been coming from way up there. So two shooters, but Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't even one of them. And I have a booklet on it, and he's saying that the men who shot Kennedy, from on the History Channel, is like one of the best sources that he thinks, he thinks that was what really happened. Was the mob. The mob was behind it. The mob was behind the whole thing. The mob had guys dressed in Secret Service uniforms up on the grassy knoll, and then the shooter back there said Lee Harvey Oswald, yes, well, he was a Marine. He didn't really have the marksmanship skills to do it because he didn't pass the marksmanship very well. The only time he handled a rifle was in boot camp, and he was a clerk pretty much the whole time he was in the Marines. But so the motorcade was coming from over there on the other side of Dealey Plaza, came down to that stoplight on Elm Street, turned this way. First shot, bam, right there. And then as they were going down this stretch of 100 feet, bam, another shot right there. So I've never had really any investigation into the conspiracies, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me that the mob did it. I mean, the Cubans and the communists, they would have had a hard time pulling it off, but the mob was connected to everything back then. And Bobby Kennedy just became an attorney general, and he was investigating the mob, and the whole Kennedy family had mob ties because their dad, the first Kennedy, Joe Kennedy, I guess, he was a bootlegger, right, and ran a lot of booze during Prohibition, and that's how he started off. He made a lot more money in the stock market, all the other stuff, but you know, that's where he started off with, you know, and then the mob, of course, took over that entire business. But there's my history lesson. And, you know, I studied all kinds of politics, and I'm intrigued by this subject, and especially international politics, and, you know, whole Kennedy and Khrushchev and communism in the 50s and 40s and World War II. It's always been like a big subject of mine. So anyway, kind of neat to be here. I thought I would share that with you guys.